Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to talk about my winter favourites, where I run through all of the things, both bookish and non-bookish, that I've really been loving during these cold months. It might be a quick video today because, to be honest, like the pile, so to speak, of things is small but mighty. Had quite a busy few months, particularly on the run-up to the show that I've been performing in, which I'll talk about later. So I've not really had the opportunity to like watch as much TV or films, listen to a load of new music, etc. But yeah, without much further ado, let's just get into some of these things that have been really cheering me up. Firstly, I do always like to start these with a bookish recommendation, even though the things that I will typically be talking about are not books. And looking back at my reading from the first couple of months of the year, I would have to say the standout favourite has been The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper. This is the third book in the Wolf Den trilogy, the finale, and I am so sad to see this series finish. But this really delivered for me. I have got a full review of this book coming soon, if it isn't out already, but this was just the perfect finale. A bit of a swan song for a lot of these characters, giving all these characters that we've grown to love and hate a bit of a chance to take a final bow before the disaster movie that basically takes up the last half of this book. I don't want to talk about this too much because it is the final book in a series. I will link down below my review for The House of the Golden Door, which gives a little bit of precursor, gives a little bit of information about the original book in the series The Wolf Den, and as I say, I will have a full review coming for this book soon, which also goes through the rest of the series. But if you are a historical fiction fan and you haven't read the series yet, I really highly recommend it. And it definitely goes out with a bang in more ways than one. In terms of theatre favourites from winter, as I mentioned, I was in a production with my Amateur Dramatic Society. I was in a production of Oliver at the New Theatre in Oxford. We performed that end of January, beginning of February, and I had such a great experience with it. It was very strange to be in a cast with so many children. So I think there were over 50 kids and over 50 adults. So, you know, we were all quite busy, all quite run off our feet, especially the chaperones. But it was a really great experience. I thought it was a fantastic show. I was playing the strawberry seller in Who Will Buy, so I got a little bit of a solo moment, a little bit of time to do some group harmony, which was really lovely. And very unexpectedly, I ended up getting a bit of a shout out in one of the reviews, which was so lovely and actually made me cry the day that I read it. But yeah, it was a really fantastic experience. And I think Oliver is actually being revived in the West End, or it's going on tour sometime this year, so I definitely recommend you going to watch that because it's just a really feel-good show. And for those of us who are big book fans, big classics fans, of course it is adapted from Charles Dickens, so what's not to love? In terms of professional theatre that I saw, the one and only show that I have seen in 2024 so far is also, I predict, one of the best shows that I'm going to be seeing. Last week I got to see Hadestown. This is my first time seeing this show. I didn't see it when it was originally in London, like what, 5 or 6 years ago. This is a transfer over from the Broadway production, which has done amazingly well. I think it won most of the Tony Awards going in its season and is still going strong over there. And so yeah, I've been really keen to see this. The story is an adaptation of the Orpheus and Eurydice myth, but also mixes in Persephone and Hades and their story. And it's kind of got this 1930s Depression era vibe. The music is very jazzy, very bluesy, mixed in with contemporary musical theatre, and I just love this production so much. Actually, some of the reviews coming out, and they're, you know, they're not negative, but they're a bit more like 3 and 4 stars. So I don't know what's not quite transferring over for critics, but you know, when I went to see it, the ushers were saying that it had been sold out every single night. So clearly audiences are loving it. And the audience that I went to see it with were really great. There was a moment in Act 2, which I'm not going to spoil, but there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and I could hear people like still sniffing during the next song because they were like, oh my god. It's just a really powerful show, really emotional. The cast are fantastic, the lighting is amazing, the staging is really special, particularly the way that they depict going into the underworld, going to visit Hadestown. Yeah, I think this is a really special show, and I'm really looking forward to going again, whenever that might be. Then I always tend to do some clothing favourites, and something that I did just have to mention, a bit of an odd one, is pyjamas, because for Christmas I got some really lovely pyjamas from my parents from Chelsea Piers. They got me a pair of their Christmas pyjamas, but I think what are great about these is that they are Christmassy, but they're not just limited to Christmas. As you see, it's this kind of like forest green with silver stars running through them. They're not velvet, but they've kind of got this really nice velvety, not suede, but just very soft material, let's say. So they are super cozy, keep you really nice and warm, and they just look really gorgeous. I got these in a size above what I would normally do because I tend to do that for pyjamas. I always think it's best to size up, and they definitely are very roomy, so I think either go for your normal size or size up. And they're really good quality and wash really well, so you know what, for more expensive pyjamas, I'd say they're worth it. The other big fashion beauty thing that I had to mention is the fact that I've been getting back into eyeshadow. Anybody who knew me like during secondary school and during uni will know that eyeshadow has always been the thing that I've been obsessed with. Never like brights and colourful stuff, but I do like a good neutral, like a neutral with a twist. But for the past couple of years, my makeup collection I've been trying to keep rather minimal. And until 2024, this had been literally all I'd been using for my eyeshadow. I've been keeping it really minimal, just a little quad, that's all I was using. But yeah, this year, don't know what's in the water, don't know what made me feel like I just really wanted to get back into it and start experimenting a bit more. I say experimenting, I'm still going for neutrals. But I've just bought a few eyeshadow palettes really, and I've been really enjoying it. All of these are Natasha Denona, and this one here is the one that kind of started the kick. This little mini, because I saw this being promoted recently, it's a recent release, the My Mini Dream palette. As you see, just 5 colours, all very neutral, and I thought it would go really well with the little quad that I already have. I'm wearing this one today, as you see, very nice and neutral, but adds a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of depth. And yeah, as I say, it's kind of kicked things off a little bit because I also went back to Natasha Denona and bought this bigger palette, the I Need a Nude palette, which I hope not to blind you with the mirror, but look at how gorgeous this is. Just lots of really pretty shimmery nudes, all kind of more on the cool tone side because I am a cool tone girl. And this was really gorgeous. Really pigmented, really high quality eyeshadows. And then I also picked up another little palette. This one actually isn't Natasha Denona, this is Huda Beauty, the Cool Matte Obsessions palette. So as you see, once again, very cool toned, lots of pinks and taupes here. And yeah, all very, very good quality and just make my eyeshadow a little bit more interesting than it had been. I'm never going to be a bright eyeshadow kind of person. I don't think it suits me, but these just all make it a little bit more interesting. And then the final favourite that I have to talk to you about is a podcast that I've been listening to recently, which is called Sentimental Garbage. It's hosted by Caroline O'Donoghue. Yes, the author, Caroline O'Donoghue. And she basically has a guest on each week to talk about something that traditional media and maybe snobs would say is trash, or, you know, just not high value content, whether that be Sex and the City, skinny jeans, romantic comedies, the Spice Girls, notably things that often have a female audience in mind, which are then denigrated and said are trash. And yeah, she and her guest will talk about these things at length and talk about what it is that makes them so appealing, what it is that has made them so reviled, and they just talk through the value of all of these things and judging whether or not that's a fair assessment or if it is just a bit of snobbery. And these conversations are just really fun. They do feel like a conversation that you would have with a friend over coffee. I really enjoyed especially her deep dive into the Sex and the City series, a series which I have seen and watched many times, and it is really truly a deep dive. Like I think over 12 hours of podcast material just on Sex and the City, going through every single season, the highs, the lows, the different themes, the different characters, and yeah, I just loved it. This is the content I want. So there we go, that's just a little whistle-stop tour of things that have been cheering me up in the winter months. I'm very keen for my next one to have a few more things in it because my brain has very much been in rehearsal mode, so I've just not given myself the time to like watch the TV shows I normally would. At this point, I've still not watched this season of Call the Midwife. I haven't watched this season of Miss Scarlet and the Duke, and I love those shows. I want to know what happens. Don't give me any spoilers, please. But I'm sure much more to come in the spring months when it's just a bit brighter and there's just more fun to be had. Let me know if anything that's been particularly cheering you up in the winter months. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.